Nobody warns you about the warmth. They warn you about the cold, the exposure, the long hours and the low pay and the hierarchy that doesn't care what your mother thinks of you. But nobody, not one person, warns you that the most dangerous moment isn't when it hurts. It's when it stops hurting. Because by then, you're already too far gone to know the difference. Here's what actually happens when a body freezes to death. The cold doesn't kill you all at once. It kills you in stages. First, it takes your extremities, your fingers, your toes, the parts of you that feel furthest from your core. Then it takes your judgment. Then your memory. And finally, right at the end, it does something that should be impossible. It makes you feel warm. Genuinely, completely warm. Survivors describe it as peace, as arrival. Yours as the feeling of finally being exactly where you were supposed to be. They were dying. Their brains were starved of oxygen and flooding with endorphins and completely, catastrophically wrong. That's the story, not of a mountain, of a building, of a system, of you. It starts on a Tuesday in September. You're 23 years old and you're wearing a shirt that's slightly too formal for the office, but you didn't know that yet. Someone hands you a badge. It has your name on it. It doesn't feel like yours. You clip it to your shirt and follow a man down a corridor that's longer than it looked from the lobby. He walks fast. He doesn't look back. You learn in the first 40 seconds that keeping up is your problem, not his. Your desk is in the back corner, near the fire exit. The chair squeaks when you lean forward. You learn not to lean forward. The first week is disorientation dressed up as orientation. You're handed a manual that's 240 pages long. You're told to read it over the weekend. You do. You highlight things. You come back Monday with questions. Nobody has time for questions on Monday. You learn to save your questions for Friday. By Friday, the questions don't feel important anymore. This is not an accident. This is design. There are 12 people in your department. You learn their coffee orders before you learn their last names. You learn who to avoid in the elevator. You learn that the third-floor bathroom is quieter. You learn that lunch at 12:30 means the good options are gone. You eat at 12, then 11:50. Then you stop thinking about it as a choice at all. This is what the cold does first. It doesn't announce itself. It just quietly removes your options, one by one, until the remaining ones feel like freedom. 6 months in, you get your first real assignment. It's a report that 3 other people have already written versions of, and your version will be the 4th. You don't know this until after you submit it. Your supervisor nods when she reads it. That nod is the closest thing to praise you'll receive for 4 months. You frame it in your memory like a photograph. You will look at that photograph for years. You start arriving earlier, not because anyone asked, because you noticed that the people who get noticed are already at their desks when the senior staff walk in. You set your alarm for 5:50. You're at your desk by 7:15. You drink bad coffee from a machine that charges $1.40. It tastes like ambition and regret in equal measure. You drink it anyway, every morning, for years. The hierarchy here is not written anywhere, but it is everywhere. There are people who speak in meetings and people who take notes in meetings. For the first year, you take notes. Thorough, accurate, completely invisible notes. Nobody reads them. But you keep taking them, because taking them means you're in the room. And being in the room means something, even when it doesn't feel like it. Especially when it doesn't feel like it. Here's the first thing they don't tell you about freezing. Your body fights back hard at the start. Shivering is violent, painful. Your muscles contract up to 5 times their normal output trying to generate heat. It burns through everything you have. You are working harder than you have ever worked, and you are still losing ground. This is year 1. This is exactly year 1. At the 14-month mark, something shifts. A senior analyst asks your opinion on a projection, not in a meeting. In the hallway between the printer and the water cooler. You give your opinion. He listens. He doesn't use it. But he asked. You think about that for 3 days. You will remember that hallway conversation longer than you will remember most of the years that follow. 2 years in, you're promoted. The title changes. The salary increases by $9,000 annually. The work increases by something that has no number. Your new desk is closer to the window. You can see a parking lot and, beyond it, a strip of gray sky. On clear days, you can see a water tower. You decide this is progress. You need it to be progress. The new role comes with new access. You see more of how decisions are actually made. This is the part nobody prepares you for. Not the workload, not the pressure, the gap. The gap between what the institution says it values and what it actually rewards. You watch a man receive a commendation for a project that 3 junior staff members built from scratch. You watch a woman get passed over for a promotion because she took maternity leave. You watch a budget get approved that everyone in the room knows is built on assumptions that will not hold. Nobody says anything. You don't say anything. You write it in your notes. Then you close the notebook. This is the second stage of the cold. The shivering stops. Not because you're warm, because your body has decided that shivering costs more than it's worth. You stop fighting the temperature. You start managing it. There is a difference. You will spend years pretending there isn't. You rationalize, everyone does. You tell yourself that systems are imperfect, that change takes time, that you can do more good from inside than outside. These are not lies exactly. They are the stories that make the temperature bearable. You will tell them so many times they will start to feel like your own opinions. Your relationship with your partner starts showing the strain around year 3. Not in arguments, in silences. In the way dinner happens later and later. In the way you check your phone during conversations and call it staying on top of things. In the way she stops asking how your day was. Not because she doesn't care, but because the answer is always the same and neither of you has the energy to perform otherwise. You notice this. You file it under things to address later. Later keeps moving. Later is very good at moving. By year 4, you are competent in ways that are difficult to explain to people outside the institution. You know which rules are enforced and which are decorative. You know that the official process for escalating a concern is 12 steps long and that nobody has completed all 12 steps in living memory. You know the workarounds. You use them. You teach them to the new people who arrive wide-eyed on Monday mornings with questions they're saving for Friday. You watch yourself in them. You don't say this out loud. The institution has a language of its own. Efficiency means reduction. Restructuring means loss. Opportunity means someone else's problem becoming yours. You speak this language fluently now. You don't remember learning it. You just woke up one day and it was the only language available. You dream in it sometimes. Year 5. A significant project. The kind that gets mentioned in annual reports. You lead a team of 7. You work weekends in November and December. You deliver on time. At the review, your director says you showed real leadership. You feel something when he says it. Not pride, something older and quieter. Like recognition arriving too late to mean what it once would have. You smile anyway. The smile is real. That's the part that should worry you. By year 7, you have stopped counting the years. You used to count them the way a person counts miles on a long drive, measuring progress, reassuring yourself the destination exists. Now the counting has stopped. Not because you've arrived, because the destination has become abstract. Something you believe in the way you believe in concepts rather than places. Your identity inside this institution is now load-bearing. You are the person who knows how the Eastern Division reporting works. You are the person who remembers why the protocol changed in year 3. You are necessary in a way that makes you immovable. And immovable, you will learn, is not the same as secure. These are not the same thing. They feel identical from the inside. The cold, at this stage, has stopped feeling like cold. Your nerve endings have adjusted. You have adjusted. The temperature hasn't changed. You have. The realization doesn't arrive like a revelation. It arrives like a Tuesday. You're in a quarterly review. The numbers on the screen are familiar. The faces are familiar. The language is familiar. And somewhere between the third slide and the fourth, you have a thought so quiet it barely registers. I have been here before. Not this meeting. This life. This exact configuration of compromise and competence and careful silence. You have been performing this role so long you can no longer locate the person who chose it. You look at the man across the table. 22 years in. Parking spot with his name on it. He speaks with the authority of someone who has never been questioned in this room. And you understand, with a clarity that feels almost physical, that you are looking at your future. Not a version of it. The version. The one the institution has been constructing since the day you clipped that badge to your shirt and followed a man who didn't look back. You don't say anything. You take notes. Now, this is the part nobody explains correctly. This is why the title of this video is what it is. When a body reaches the final stage of hypothermia, something unexpected happens. The blood vessels that have been clamped shut for hours, the ones that sacrificed your extremities to protect your core, suddenly release. Warm blood floods back to the surface. The dying brain, starved of oxygen, interprets this as heat, as comfort, as arrival. You feel, in those final moments, completely and genuinely warm. Survivors describe it as peace, as the sense that everything is finally okay, that the struggle was worth it, that you were right to keep going, you were not right, you were ending. The warmth was the ending. The exit, when it comes, is procedural, a restructuring. Your role is absorbed into two others. Transition package, on 12 weeks of salary. A letter of reference, a small gathering in the third-floor conference room with a sheet cake and plastic cups of sparkling water. People say kind, general things. You smile. You mean it mostly. That's the part that stays with you. You hand back the badge. It has your name on it. It still doesn't feel like yours. You walk out through the same door you walked in through years ago, following a man whose name you forgot by Thursday. The corridor is the same length. The lights hum at the same frequency. Outside, the air is cold in a way that indoor air never quite is. Specific, honest, indifferent. You stand in the parking lot. You're not sure why. Behind you, the building continues. Someone is already at your desk. Someone new, badge clipped, questions saved for Friday, learning the coffee orders before the last names. Someone who believes, the way you once believed, that the cold is something that happens to other people. That warmth is a destination. That if you just keep moving forward, keep performing, keep arriving before the senior staff, you will eventually get there. Nobody will tell them about the warmth at the end. Nobody told you. The system doesn't need you to continue. It never did. That was always the agreement, written in the language you learned without knowing you were learning it. You get in the car, the seat is cold, the steering wheel is cold, your hands are cold, you don't notice. That's how you know it worked.